focus on hitting your goals in every area of your business. Remember, the universe rewards the bold. A leader has to take the risks.
Well. How's it going, Mr. Leslie? Simon, Mr. Simon, Mr. Leslie?
Mr. Leslie's fine. Sir, I mean, you can call me sir if you want.
I'll just call you sir. I'll just, I'm sure you're knighted or something like that. So
I tried very hard to get a knighthood. I walked in a restaurant the other day and the guy said to me, what would you like, sir? I said, no, you've heard about my knighthood. It's clearly the Queen hasn't phoned me and told me yet.
So how you feeling? You been traveling or what?
I mean, this week, since the 1st of June, I've been home after 5 months of being belting it every week somewhere else.
You've been going all over the place. Do you have any favorite destinations that you've been in your life so far? Because obviously being in the travel business, man, you've been a lot of places.
Oh, I love everywhere. My favorites are South Africa, Maldives, Turks and Caicos, in that order.
Nice. So South Africa. So I've been to South Africa. One of my best friends actually is from South Africa. And we went on safari a few years ago and had a blast. He's from Johannesburg. So we stayed in that city, and the carjacking capital of the world. So what do you love about South Africa?
It's funny, isn't it? And I've been there. I've been to Joburg probably 3 or 4 times and never been carjacked. I love it. I even like it more than Cape Town sometimes because I don't know. There's just something about it which I found quite weirdly weird. And I think the first time I was there, I was training for a marathon, and I started running there, and I'd sort of got halfway around the block, and I'm like, I thought I was fitter than this, and I hadn't understood the whole altitude concept at that point. Yeah, that was. No, I don't know. I think it was the fact that it was 20 rand to the pound, and you could live like a king for like £10 and $10, and I remember going into the in Santon. You go to Santon City.
No.
It's like the posh shopping centre. It's like the posh part of Johannesburg.
Okay.
And going into the best restaurant and going into their wine cellar and going, what's the most expensive bottle of wine you got? And they go, this one. And I'm like, that's about $30. Yeah, I'll have 2 bottles of that. And they're like, what?
Oh my goodness. Wow. Yeah, it's kind of like when I went to Thailand, very similar situation. I mean, the money just goes so far. And so so where you were born in London, right? I mean, you're from the UK, right?
Yeah, I was actually born in Wales.
Okay.
And what? Men are men and sheep are scared.
Okay. And so what was your childhood like, man? I mean, what was that like growing up over there?
Honestly, my childhood and my upbringing was very, very safe, boring. I sometimes wish I could make up a story because, when you hear a lot of successful people, they've all got some battle scars. Mine was just, nice family, grew up. We moved to London when I was about 13. And that was harder, transitioning from living sort of in the provinces to suddenly living in the big city and being bullied. But up to then, it was all sort of very nice. And I'm a big lad, so I dealt with that. And so really, my forming years, I got to 17. I didn't want to go to university. I wanted to get out there and see the world and do what I had to do. And I only ended up working for about 2 years for other people. And then I started my own businesses, and that's the story of my youth, as it were.
Well, but you sound like you had good parents, though. I mean, you were raised pretty well. I mean, good parents.
Good parents.
Okay.
Any
lessons from your parents? Any lessons that you kind of took with you on the journey of life?
No, I mean, my father was an accountant, so we were middle class, I'm getting a lot more lessons from them now. My mother has picked up, not sort of thing you pick up, but she has dementia now. And so we really are learning a lot of lessons from them at the moment of what difficulties life gives you, what life delivers you. Now it's funny because I have a 22-year-old who started his own business, and I'm mentoring him and coaching him, and he listens to what I said. Whatever my dad said to me, I did the opposite. If he said don't do it, I go, okay, I'm going to do it. That was the lessons I learned. I learned not to listen to him, and most of the time he was right and I was wrong. And I do think sometimes we listen too much to people for advice who are not equipped to give us the right advice.
I believe that. Matter of fact, I think me and you probably have a lot in common, considering what you just said right now. Do you believe in luck? And are you lucky?
It's my middle name.
So tell me about it. Why are you lucky, man? What's so lucky about you? And why do you believe in luck so much?
I even created the website Lucky Leslie because I very much believe in linguistics and language and words, and I just think that if you don't believe you're lucky, if you don't believe that life is going to run the way you want it to run, then why turn up? I've had a lot of lucky situations in my life, and they just keep on coming. The best one was in about 1999. We were about to go bust, and I opened the software for the banking, and on that day, and somebody had sent us £57,000, about $100,000 by accident. I didn't know at the time it'd be by accident, but if we hadn't had that money, we would have gone bust. And we had that money for about 3 years until they realized that they'd sent it to us by accident and asked for it back, which happened to coincide with the day that we sold the business. So somebody up there was looking down on me and saying, you know what, here you go, boy, see what you can do with this. And this wasn't a small institution. It was a big, well-known German bank. And German banks don't tend to make mistakes, don't tend to miss things, don't tend to go through year ends without realizing they've sent you money. And I guess that somebody out there was looking down on me. So I've always had this lucky streak, and I've been blessed by it. And I keep saying to people that you order what you want, whatever you want life to deliver. It's like dominoes. It might not be here in 30 minutes or less, but it's coming. If you order it, it's on its way.
It's awesome that you say that, because I get up every day and I get in the shower. I have a little mirror in my shower. I've been telling people for years, and I look in the mirror and I say, great things always happen to me. I mean, I'm talking every day for 25 years I've been doing this. And I say, today's going to be a great day, and, blah, 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 whatever. I have that same kind of feeling, like I'm lucky. I am lucky. I actually like the lucky hats, and I like 4-leaf clovers. I have a shirt that says, I just wore it the other day, and it says lucky on it. And so I really prescribe to what you're talking about, because it is important that we put out in the universe the things that we want. I mean, obviously, quantum physics and the law of attraction says that the things that we think about with intensity and purpose and energy and determination, ultimately, again, like you said, maybe not in 30 minutes, which that's why I think people get screwed up, because they want it in 30 minutes, but eventually it's coming, right? And so, and you've been through some crazy stuff, man, in the last couple of years. And so tell me how coronavirus affected you and your business and your life. And it's kind of a crazy story. Share it.
I will share it. I don't know where to start, but just before I do that, I have 30 pairs of lucky pants. There was a thing when we were teenagers, right? You say, have you got your lucky pants on today? Have you got your pulling pants on today? So every time I see a pair of lucky pants in whatever supermarket, I buy a set. And so I've got boxes and boxes just in case these ones get worn out.
Love it.
So I don't know how much you know about what we do. We were the kings of the inflight magazine. So if you got it on the plane, there was a very good chance over the last 20 years you read something that I produced, be it American Way, Hemispheres, um, Spirit magazine. Oh my gosh, I can't even remember half these magazines. We had 36 magazines before we went into the pandemic, before COVID arrived. And then on March the 9th, 2020, the airlines one by one said, you know what, sorry, we're going to take these off. People are scared of touching them, the dirt. It could be transferring COVID. So we had to adapt as a business. And
We're on pace to do like $150 million that year, right? I mean, is that correct?
we were about to do 150 million. We were tracking well. January and February were cracking months. Everything was going to plan. We just had our best ever year. And then we went from 150 million to zero. No, minus zero, probably minus 5 or 6 mil, because half of them won their money back. People who paid for advertising and we couldn't deliver. So I didn't have much choice but to say, what am I going to do with this business? What the hell are we going to turn this into? And we did have a fledgling TV business. We bought a little technology business, and all of a sudden, I took a business which was nearly 90% print, turned it into a TV and digital retargeting business, and now it's basically the I think I described it as the Amazon of travel, but it's a marketplace for where you can come and reach travelers. So I've got 15 of the biggest airlines in the world. I have access to all their data. So if you're flying to Thailand, I know you're going. I know how long you're staying. Probably know what you're going to do there. And I've got a television network at 90 US airports. So if you're traveling through any US airport today, you'll see Reach TV. That's part of our portfolio. And, you know, we've suddenly gone from, we're not back up to the 150 again, but we're getting close. And I'm hoping by the end of this year, we'll be back there. And I sat down and started writing my diary of this adventure. What I did, I reached out to people you know as well, lots of big names, Tim Story, Tim Grover, Jordan Belfort, Chris Voss, and 45, 50 others. And they all came in and they all talked to my team and they said, look, I've got nothing to give you. I can't give you any money. I've got nothing. I'll give you an IOU that if you need anything when I'm back on my feet. And they all believed me. I mean, I remember Jordan saying to me, because I'll back you. I reckon you'll come out of this. And I wrote this book, which is called Equanimity. I don't know if you can see that. And it's basically a diary of that 2.5 years, what I did, how I turned it around, the stories these guys told my team. And what I realized was, actually, I was learning from it. You know, what you said about jumping out of bed, Brad Lee said, you know, it's the miracle morning. This is the morning you create. If you do not wake up in a positive state, you just killed your morning. You just wasted your day. Win the morning, win the day. So it's all the stories in there, how I turned it around. It's a playbook for anybody whose life is slightly off course. You know, it doesn't have to be a mess, just slightly off course, because I've really thought about what a life should feel like. If you look at my LinkedIn for the last 5 months now, every single month I have absolutely blown everything out the window. Look, things that I've done in a month, some people won't do in their lifetime. I took 7 flights last week, which started in London, New York, Phoenix, Paris. I went to the tennis at Roland Garros. Then in the evening went to watch the Champions League final in Paris, Liverpool versus Real Madrid, and then I came home. I mean, that's an adventure. That's the sort of life I want people to live, and that's what my book helps them do.
Oh, that's so awesome. I love your story. And when I found out that you were in the travel business, I mean, because that's what I love to do. I mean, that's like my all-time favorite thing to do is to get on a plane. I know a lot of people, they don't like to be on planes, but because I have financial freedom, I get to go on planes whenever I want to go on plane. It's a different experience, right? Than when you have to go on a plane versus you want to go on a plane. And I love hearing stories of triumph, and I love hearing stories of people that didn't give up. And because every single one of us, we're gonna, if we haven't gone through anything yet, we're gonna come through some way, somehow. Something's gonna happen in our life that's gonna challenge us to a high degree, and it's our ability to be able to to make something of nothing. That is the real adventure, and it's the real story that we're going to tell. I mean, people are excited when you're having success, but they want to know, like, what you do when you weren't having success. What did you do? How did you come out of it? And so the question I have for you is, like, is there kind of a formula that, because after a while you see patterns to different situations. When you're down $5 million from 150 million, like, what do you do at that point? Like, what's going through your mind? And how do you not just say, fuck this shit, I'm out, I'm gonna do something else? I mean, right? I mean, because that's what most people in the world are going to do. Like, most people don't say, I'm going to turn it around. They're like, let's BK, let's start over, let's start some other business, do what, you know what I mean? Like, so what'd you do? What was your thoughts?
Most of the people, especially my family, gave me. I said, why are you trying to salvage this? You've hit an iceberg. Just stop rearranging the deck chairs. Just go and find another boat. And I think no one really cares if you're going through a lot of the trouble that you're going through until you save it, until you rescue it. And then sometimes I was telling people what I'd done, and they go, yeah, it's okay. And I said, no, you don't understand. I lost 36 of my 39 clients. I lost 1,500 clients, advertising clients. I lost 300 staff. Now, this wasn't a little blip. This was a complete tsunami of an event. And everybody was saying, just go find a new trade set, go play something else. And I went, this isn't my fault. It's not like, sometimes you make a mistake in business, which is your fault and you have to deal with the consequences. This wasn't my fault, but it was my responsibility. And it was my responsibility to the people who stuck by me to give them an opportunity. And I just kept saying, look, let me focus on plugging the holes. Let's see if we can save this boat. And I remained incredibly positive all the way through until about June, I think about 2021. And then I really had a nervous breakdown. Once I felt I could see the light at the end of the tunnel, I'm like, fuck, what have I just gone through? How did I put myself through that? I didn't stop. I just kept going and being positive and being this beacon for everyone else, going, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And then I fell apart. And so I tell that story as well of, I was deep in, I think the most important thing, and you'll know this because you've written books, how many times has a book been written about a positive subject by someone who is on their knees crying into the ground?
Oh, I'm sure plenty. Oh, I'm sure plenty.
It has to be, because you have to go somewhere dark and miserable. It's like I kept saying, if we're going to hell, we've got to bring a gift back with us, because there's no way I'm coming out of this with nothing to show for it. So that was the ethos of what kept me going.
Well, I heard you say, because I want to make sure that you clarify. I want to get some clarification, because I heard you talk about hard work, and because I always say, I want to work smart and I want to work hard. And you kind of had said something about, like it's all about hard work. And so I wanted to get your clarification on that. So my mind is thinking the right way here, because I mean, I just think that there's no question hard work is important, but working smart is important too. So what'd you say?
Yeah, that's a flick of a coin, that one. I think, yes, you've got to work smart and you've got to work hard. I've always been the hardest worker in the room. I also said when I come out of COVID, I'm not going to be the hardest worker in the room, but I'm going to work. It's not like I'm not working hard. I mean, like, it's 7 o'clock at night and we're having a conversation. People say, but this is enjoyable. I enjoy working. It's not a chore to me to work. So you've got to create an environment where, and that's what I've tried to do as a business. There's always create an environment where I would like to come to work and I'm comfortable there. I mean, if you have a look at my Instagram, you can see my office. I've turned it into like a Barnum's pleasure grounds with sofas and bars, and it's a fantastic place. Some of the people want to have sleepovers at the office because it's nicer than their apartments. But it's the same with luck and the same with everything else. As long as you include hard work into it, there's no problem. Most people today want instant gratification, want instant results, and are not prepared to put the hard yards in, not prepared to go through the difficult periods. As soon as it gets difficult, I'm jumping ship. Someone's going to give me $5 more, I'm off to the next job. And I think that's the problem. And someone once told me, they said, forever is a long fucking time. And you've got to be able to last out. I've been doing this 27 years. I've got more energy than some of the 20-year-olds who work for me.
I love it. I love it. 25 years I've been in business so far. Got recruited into financial services at 21. If you could imagine, man. I mean, I was just a punk kid making $7 an hour. And I said, man, I'm going to go do something great. I'm going to change. And I heard all these guys talking about, man, you could get rich and you could travel the world and you could do great things. And what's crazy is I believed all that shit, like I bought it hook, line, and sinker. I bought it. I did exactly what they told me to do. I was so coachable. I had no ego about anything. I just wanted to win. I just wanted, I was driving around a $4,000 Nissan truck that the windows, you had no air conditioning in there. And I just wanted to be somebody. And thank God I didn't quit. Thank God I just kept pressing forward. And it's funny because you mentioned something a little earlier about your childhood. And you mentioned that you kind of wish you had a better story to tell. And I tell people all the time, like, even in business for me, my first, 10 years in business, becoming financially independent, I didn't have any bad stories. It worked exactly like they told me it to work. They said it was going to work like this. I did what they told me to do, and it actually worked. And so how important is it that new entrepreneurs that are going into business right now, how important, or even employees that start with a new corporation, how important is it for them to get rid of their egos and follow instruction, and be coachable, like follow the game plan?
These people are coming into the business and they're telling you how to run a business. They're telling you, actually, the way you're doing it is wrong. Really what you should do is let me work from home 3 days a week. I don't really want to make phone calls. I want to do emails and send DMs. And I'm like, you're going to be jumping from job to job. Let me show you a picture of this guy and let me show you his LinkedIn. Look how many jobs he's had since he left me. Right? And let me show you 2 other people who have stuck by the process. Let me show you how their lives are living out. One of them lives in Costa Rica in a house he bought cash for, and the other one lives in Ibiza. Same story. They followed the process. They did the job. They worked hard, and they got the rewards of the job. So you are either going to be A, B, or C. Which one do you fancy being? If you're not prepared to do the things that you dislike, you're not going to get the things that you want.
So who do you call? I mean, obviously you've had some decent success in your life, and who do you call for advice, or who's your mentor, or who was your mentor, and who is your mentor now?
Well, I mean, during this event, I had lots of new friends, lots of people I could call. I mean, when I was negotiating, quite major deals, I'd phone Chris Voss and I say, Chris, how do I get out of this mess? He's negotiating with terrorists, so negotiating with an airline or an employee was a doddle for him. I have a friend, my first friend, who I met when we were 17 at my first job, and we were door-to-door salesmen. We were selling insurance door to door. So I was in the financial services, same sort of time as you. So I'm thinking, you do recruitment. I remember recruitment in those days. We'd have a sales meeting and the boss would go, "Oi, you at the back, off. You're not wanted here anymore." It was as brutal as that. But my friend Peter, he and I have been friends for 33 years. I don't know why, but he has 3 Lamborghinis. He's done particularly well for himself. And he'll phone me when he's going through it, and I'll phone him. and he'll go, "Si, wipe your mouth, shut up. You lost the battle, not the war. Get back on it." And sometimes you just need someone in your life who's just going to say, "Oh, shut up, stop whinging and just get on with it. You're being a baby about this." So he's one of the people I speak to, and and I just take solace in that, that friendship, the one that's been so long, and we've got that relationship where we could just tell each other it's not a what do you call it, like a water cooler, like a pity party where we come and both moan about stuff. We will, one of us will bring the other one back to life and say, "Come on, this is silly now."
I think everybody needs a friend like that. I mean, we all need somebody in our life. And for me, I was very fortunate, young age, had a millionaire mentor, and the guy's still my buddy to this day. And we talk pretty regularly. And I was lucky too, because I had lots of different mentors. And of course, I mean, as a 21-year-old kid, I mean, I went to the Anthony Robbins seminars, and I learned how to sell through Tom Hopkins, and again, all the millionaires in my business. And I just think it's so important that people. I just wrote about it. My new book just came out last month, called Wealth on the Beach. And I just talked about.
It hasn't arrived yet. I've ordered it. It hasn't
Oh,
arrived
did you?
yet.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. So happy to hear that. And Shaheen, he talked you up so much, and I know I think you're a part of the medal program, and I just think it's so cool when you have this environment of people that can guide you and to teach you. But I'm so glad that I didn't have an ego about it. I literally just followed the process, and it really made all the difference in the end. And so when you think about because who your audience right now is it's a bunch of motivated entrepreneurs, people that small businesses, maybe not $150 million companies, but they got their little mom and pop businesses trying to get it off the ground. A lot of financial people right now. What's some advice that you could give them as far as like daily routine, something maybe you did in the past that you can offer up?
I think there's three things I'd like to say. First one is, I don't know who invented water, but it certainly wasn't the fish, right? And I think too many of us are stuck in an environment where we've created that we're living in that environment. We think we know everything. We think we know it all. The only difference between a small business and a big business is your thinking. I didn't have a grand plan to get from 1 million to 150 million. Only about not in 0.1% of a business owners can get a business to scale to that size. I'm not as smart as, I didn't go to university. I don't have any degrees. I just had keep it simple mentality. Follow the water, follow the path, find the path of the least resistance. When you take a fish out of water, that's when they want to know what life is really about, because that's when they struggle and they want to get back into that water. You've got to get out of your business, understand what it would feel like, what could it look like if you burned it down to the ground and you started again. How could you imagine a business that looked 10 times as big? What would you have to do? Who would you have to employ? How would you employ them? What would it look like if the revenue coming in wasn't 1 million a month, but 10 million a month? What problems would that create for you? And just start looking at things from a different set of eyes, from a set of eyes of somebody who is already there, because that's how you get there. Because you start thinking like it, you put it down, your affirmations, whatever it is you decide, you put that into a process. It's only a matter of time before it happens. And what it is you've just got to remove what you don't know. And the story behind that is this: I'm a 300-pound guy. I know more about losing weight than probably any of the health instructors. I've been to more doctors. I've been to more PTs or physical therapists. I've been to more dietitians. I've been on more diets than you could write a book on. I was going to write a book called "There's No Effing Weight Loss," And because I just cannot lose weight. And it's not for lack of trying. I've done 2 marathons, half Ironman, climbed Kilimanjaro. I'm as fit as a fiddle. I'm strong as an ox, but the weight won't come off. And do you know what it is? It's not what I know. It's what I don't know. It's exactly what I don't know is what's holding me back. All that stuff that I know isn't solving my problem. So it's what I don't know. What I don't know about my business is holding me back. What is it that's going on that you don't know about that could make that one iota of difference? And I want to lose £100 so I can jump out of a plane. But the problem is I lose £5 or £6 and then I don't lose anymore and I give up because it's not £100 I want to lead. It's £1. I want to lose the first pound, then the second pound. I've got to stop setting myself unrealistic goals that I keep letting myself down on, because that's how we fail. We set ourselves too big a targets that we can't deliver. And guess what? We start lying to ourselves. And the minute you lie to yourself, it's game over.
Have you seen the movie Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, Joe Cross? Do you know who I'm talking about?
I have, yes.
You seen that guy? All right.
Yeah.
All right. So when you try that, okay, for I don't know if you did 60 or 90 days, when you try that, that'll be it for you. Okay. That'll be it. That will be the 100 when you decide, right? Remember, you talked about it earlier, right? It's a decision. Okay. So when you decide that, Leslie, it's done. It's done. You're going to lose that 100 pounds, man. So I'm just telling you, I can't wait till you do it. If you really want to, you could do it. So anyway, because I believe what you're saying, that diets don't work. You know what I mean? But massive crazy shit does. That's massive crazy shit, right? To go with 3 green drinks a day only for 60 days or something. Anyways, I just thought I'd throw that out there.
If you have a look again, if you go back through the Instagram long enough, I was salary juicing every day, probably for about 90 days.
Well, I'm just telling you, eat nothing. I want to see you do that and blog it, man. Maybe you write a movie, or that could be your next book, So anyways, I thought I'd throw it out there. But hey, you did write a book, and it's called No F in Sales, right? I mean, so what was that all about, man?
That was it was an unfortunate title, right? Because I wrote that in 2019, and within 6 months I had no F in sales. That was my blueprint. That took us up to 2018, and it was my journey of being in sales, what it's like to be in sales, how you want to be the best salespeople. You asked me about advice. I remember there was one chapter in that book where I said to people, look at your job description. Look at the things that you're paid to do. This is what you're paid to get. That's what your salary is for. Write another 7 or 8, 9, 10 more that you're not getting paid to do, but you're going to deliver for that business. I guarantee you'll be recognized. They'll be talking about you in every meeting. They'll be saying, do you know what? That Daniel, he's an absolute gem. We need more of him. And I hear myself saying that about people who work for me today, because they go beyond what they're paid to do. They turn up and they smile, and they really are special people.
It's
I wouldn't say it's a self-help book. But it's a book that will help you sell.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's wonderful that you said that, because that was kind of the mentorship, one of my favorite speeches of all time. You probably don't know this guy because he's in sales, but his name's Art Williams. He built a big insurance company in the United States, but in the 70s and 80s. And he used to always say, do it and do it and do it. But he used to always say, do it and a little bit more. And that was always my thought, is I wanted to do it and a little bit more. And I wanted people to recognize me for that, because it wasn't just for the self-esteem. It was because I knew that if people recognized me for it, I'd build credibility amongst my teammates. And then once I started to build an organization, we have about 1,500 licensed agents now, about 50 locations. And so it built credibility that I was able to sell. I was able to say, look, I did it, therefore I expect you to do it. I always wanted to be a leader that led from the front. I never wanted to be crack a whip and go do it. I wanted to be in the trenches with my guys, especially in those early days. I wanted to be with them. I wanted to do it with them. I wanted to make money with them. I wanted to show them how to do it, by example. But it was always do it and a little bit more. And it was pretty important. How do we get people to, how do we get more yeses? Like, what's your sales process? And, what are some of the mistakes that you see people make in sales?
It's really interesting. Two things triggered in my head there. The first one was never take a no from somebody who can't give you a yes, which I think is really powerful, because too many people.
So explain that. What kind of expand on that a little bit. Never
take a no from somebody who can't give you a yes. Too many people are selling to people who can't make a decision. And that, they're too scared to go higher up the food chain. People don't pitch me, they'll pitch the marketing team, or they'll pitch the junior marketeer. And, those people can't say yes. They can say no, but they can't say yes. So it's really important to find the person that can actually say yes. But I would say the reverse. I want you to get more no's. I want you to understand what the real problem is. Because most of the time we're not fixing the problem. We're selling a solution. We're not fixing the problem. You're selling insurance. The problem is not when you die, you're going to give somebody you just want to give security. You want to make sure that everybody after you're not here is a much better place, or is in an equal place they are before you, if you were here. And I think that the storytelling is what's important. When you start getting no's, that's when the sales starts. That's when the sales process starts. And I always say to people, get more no's. Find out what they don't need before they get yeses. And also, it is a process of asking yes questions. Once you ask more yes questions and get them in the habit of saying yes, it then becomes easy. When you ask them for the business, they go, okay.
I always said, if I got a lot of little yeses, I always got the big yes at the end, as long as I got a lot of little yeses along the way. So that's wonderful that you said that. And so, when you think about it, like mistakes that people make in business, entrepreneurs, you've seen it all. You've been around a little while and you've seen it all. Entrepreneurs, new people in business, salespeople. Do you have any kind of, anything ring with you right now when what are some of the biggest mistakes that people make? The biggest challenges that people kind of almost do it to themselves sometimes. Anything pop up for you?
It's all about storytelling. The stories that we tell ourselves and the stories that we have. A thought is not always true. It might feel very true in our mind, but it's not a truth. It's just a thought. Sometimes they've got to pass through you. Sometimes they do become things, but most of the time, just let it go. Don't hold on to it for too long. I've had a lot of people I've worked with over the years, and I've had people who are stubborn. I like them green. I like them when they like you were. They come in, they want it so badly. They won't overcomplicate it. They'll do what they're told, and they'll go through the process. Because there's three things to building a culture. You've got the mindset, you've got the process, and you've got the outcomes. If you don't follow a process, you're not going to get your outcome. If your mind's not in the right place, you won't follow the process. You won't get the outcome. So you can't have one without the other. And I think too many people allow too many no's to put them off course. They allow too many people who are not. There's three people who should ask for advice in life. Okay, someone you'd swap places with. If I'd swap places with you, I can ask you for advice. Somebody who's been to the place I want to go to. If you want advice on South Africa, I'm going to ask you because you've been there a few times, right? So asking for advice. You certainly do not want to advice from anybody you wouldn't swap places with. And then the next thing is you want somebody who's actually achieved what you want to achieve. If you can't get that information from that person, then it doesn't matter what they've got to say to you. It's unusable.
I think you're right on, man. I mean, and so when you look back on your life, I mean, do you have anything that you would, what would you tell your younger self?
I, I'm very lucky. My son is, I keep saying 21. You know, what would you tell your 20-year-old self? Well, my 21-year-old self started his business in his bedroom in his underpants. And over the last year, he started a small influencer business. So he takes influencers and he goes to big brands and does deals for them. He brings brands and influencers together. He started with one of his friends. That was a year ago. And now he's got 100 clients, 100 influencers. They do hundreds of brand deals every month. It's a fantastic business. And I'm his mentor. And he phones me up, and unlike my dad, he listens to what I say. And he's doing better every day. And I'm super proud. I'm super proud for two reasons. One, because he's following my playbook, the same playbook that I built my business on. So at Christmas, he took his whole team to the Maldives for Christmas. Last month, they worked in the south of France. He took a private jet, flew them down there, hired a villa on the beach, and they worked there for a week. And I said, oh, honestly, man, you make me so proud. One, because my playbook works. So it's like, you know, ticking that box. And two, you know, you're my baby, and you're delivering big time.
What a proud father you are, man. I mean, you have to be so proud at that. And I mean, and it's so cool to see the next generations become, and he's going to probably be more successful than you know, at one day. And that's all of our hope.
This is
Right?
your benchmark.
Yeah, no, I mean, how cool is that? Like I'm so happy that I got a couple of kids that are like smarter than I am. I mean, and smart young people, man. And if they just follow the playbook, like you said, I mean, they're going to have a lot of success. And so as we kind of wrap things up today, this has been really, really exciting for me to talk to you. I've heard so much about you, and I've read about you and watched some podcasts, and you're just, you know, you seem like such an authentic guy that has really just a ton of knowledge. I mean, I really, my audience, I want to make sure that all of you guys make sure you go get his couple of books that he's put out. And I don't know, you have 2 books, right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
2 books.
Two
and
books.
So make sure
3
that you
books,
go
actually.
out.
3
3
books.
books. Okay. What's the other one? So the No F in Sales.
No F in Sales. The new one is called Equanimity, which is the diary. And the one I wrote in the middle was called White Belt Thinking, which is
White Belt Thinking.
It's
Okay.
a fable.
What was that? Okay. Oh, really? Okay.
It's a story of a young boy. And it's funny because it's everything we've talked about here today. It's about a young boy who he starts off in a library, and he's moaning to his girlfriend, and this old man, oh, I'm getting goosebumps actually, because it's basically what we talked about. This old man hears him and says, you know, young man, this, you know, it's not quite true what you're saying. And he takes on this mentorship role of him, and he goes on to become a boxing champion. And the theory of white belt thinking is, if you go through life with a white belt mentality, white belt is the first belt you get in any martial arts. Okay, as you get better, you get other belts. But if you start as a white belt, as a beginner, and you see everything through beginner's eyes, and you listen to what your teachers tell you, you will get better and better and better.
And you will definitely surpass the competition so much faster with white belt thinking. I love that. I'm gonna go get that book too, man. So I'm excited about that. That's very, very cool. And so, do you have a favorite book? Oh, no, go ahead.
And one more thing that I did as well, which, you know, just it's like, apart from saving a business during COVID, I wrote a few books. You know, the other thing I did when I was struggling, I'd go and sit. I had a house down by the sea, and I'd go and sit on the bench, and I started writing poems, and they were like 4-line poems, and I'd write them, and I sort of nothing, just put them on the phone, and then I sort of, I'm going to post one on Instagram. I got one of my designers to mock it up. I'm up to 527 days of posting a poem. It's called The Motivational Poet, and every day is a motivational poem, and you'll love it because it's all the things that we've been taught and believe. And that was another thing that came out of it. And then at the end of it, I published a book of 365 poems. And everywhere I go, they're in my bag. And anyone I meet who smiles at me in a nice way or is positive, I say, here's my book. And I've got to say, it's a whole thing about, you create your gift and you give it away for free.
What a life, because life is an adventure, and what a life to be able to do that, to be able to make impact and change so many lives along the way. How fun is that? Do you have a favorite book though, like that you look back and go, man, that one kind of transformed me a little bit?
I think my favorite book that was a game changer for me was Relentless by Tim Grover.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's a pretty newer one too. I mean, that's a newer book. But wow, isn't that a great book though? I mean, one of my all-time, got to be my top 10 as far as Relentless, because it was so honest. That's what I love about it. It was so honest and authentic and talked about things that a lot of people don't like to talk about when you talk about successful people.
I felt like it was a blueprint, like someone had written a blueprint about all the things that had gone through my mind. Why do I feel like this about those people? Why do I think differently to other people? And it was the first time I actually sat up and thought, oh, I'm not so weird. These aren't weird traits. These are behaviors because of who I am and how I perform.
Because you're a winner, man, and winners are different. I mean, they really are. I mean, I don't know if it's DNA. I believe people can study to be successful and they can fight to be successful and hope people don't give up on their dreams. But I think there's something inside some of us that are just made up a little bit differently, where we're willing to maybe do things that other people aren't willing to go do, so we could have a life that, maybe other people aren't willing to fight for. And so look, this has been.
Do it with kindness,
go ahead.
Daniel.
Go ahead.
Do it with kindness. Do it with kindness.
Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't, I'm not saying the 25-year-old me was a nice, sweet, kind man, but as I've got older and matured, I looked just, I said to my guys today, I'm rubbish at recruiting. And they said, why? I said, because I want to help every person that I sit down in front of. And I want to see the good in them. I can't see, I want to see, how can I bring out the best in you? And I said, that's not the right traits for a recruiter.
Well, I get where you're coming from. I totally do, because I look at my life today and I look at who I am today and I look at who I was 25 years ago. And the one thing I'll tell, maybe not 100% agree with you in the sense that I'm trying to hang on to that toughness a little bit, because I think a lot of us guys, man, we get older, we get a little richer, we get a little, a little bit different, and we get softer. And I think that I'm telling you, I am way soft. And my business, because I have a lot of locations, but I have one office that I am in control of, right? That's kind of like my little location that I'm in charge of. And that's one of the worst ones now. You know what I mean? It's like, because I'm old and I'm soft, man. I'm 47 years old. I'm soft. I'm nicer than I used to be. I don't yell as much. I'm not as tough as I used to be. And so I don't know. I think that there's, I look back at 25. Yes, I believe you got to be kind, because obviously building relationships, how to win friends and influence people will always be one of my top 3 favorite books in the world. You got to treat people good. You got to treat people right. You got to be pushing up people, but there's got to be a level of that toughness that you're going to find your best guys. I think, at least in my business, at least, you're going to find some of your best guys by challenging them, throwing down the gauntlet, and maybe sometimes even ruffling some feathers, going, you're probably not tough enough, man. You probably don't have what it takes, man. You're probably a wimp. You probably won't do it. Like, you say shit like that, and the right guys and gals, they'll go, that's a bunch of bullshit. Because I know my mentors did it to me, and it used to piss me off, made me work harder. Believe it or not. I don't know if we're in a different culture now, just a different era of the world. But back then, man, it used to drive me to want to fight and work even harder. So I don't know if that makes sense at all, but
It absolutely does. And it's true. If you think back, there were friends of ours who were dope heads. There were friends of ours who were computer geeks. There were friends of ours who were driven. I don't think much has changed. I think the world is, my son is 22. He's got more drive than I ever had. So I think it's who you hang around with, what you're conditioned by, and what you believe.
well said, my friend. All right. How do we get a hold of Leslie Simon, one of the greats of the greats? How do we get a hold of you, man? Because we want to read your books, man, and we want to reach out and look at your Instagram and all that good stuff. So tell us how to reach you, man.
So on Instagram, I'm Simon Leslie 21. LinkedIn is where I dump a lot of really positive stuff. So definitely follow me on LinkedIn. And I made a commitment through this, through just because everybody helped me so much. If people want to reach out, people have got a problem, something that's bugging them, and they just want a quick answer, I'll reply to as many people as I can. I'm pretty good at managing time. Shaheen taught me that, actually. He taught me that he always gets to zero every night, gets all his emails done. So reach out on LinkedIn, follow me on Instagram, the Motivational Poet. Go and follow those poems. They'll give you some stories to brighten your day. And the books are on Amazon and Audible. So go listen and let me know what you think. I've put my heart and soul into the latest book, and it's 356 pages, and I don't think it's only been out a couple of days, so nobody's gone through it yet enough to say, okay, I really love it. But I've had some beautiful messages from people going, one, I didn't realize how much poo you were in. I didn't realize how hard you took it. And just messages of kindness and love. So it's been beautiful.
Well, we're gonna make sure we support you and go out there and take a look at all that you've done. And again, thank you so much for all of your time today. And as always, for all of our audience, make sure that if you do reach out to Leslie, tell him that you heard him or you saw him on Daniel Alonzo's Wealth on the Beach podcast or the YouTube channel. And then podcasts on iTunes and Spotify, and make sure you let him know that you saw him here and that you appreciate all of his words of wisdom, and wish him the best. So as always, make sure that you continue to dream bigger, make sure you get after it, but most importantly, do it now. God bless you, and we'll see you at the top.